My name is Allicia. I'm 27 years old. Please listen to my story completely. It is not just a story. It is a piece of my heart, a promise I couldn't keep. When I was a little girl, I used to sit near the window and watch the airplanes in the sky. Every time one passed, I whispered, "One day, I will be inside that plane. I will travel the world." My mother always smiled and said, "Dreams are free, my child, but to make them true, you must work hard." I promised her, "Mama, one day you will see me flying. I will take you with me." I didn't know how heavy that promise would feel later in life. I grew up in a small town where people believed girls should marry early and stay home. My father worked as a taxi driver. My mother sold vegetables in the morning market. We didn't have much, but we had love. I was the eldest of 3 sisters, so I often helped my mother count money and read labels. Every time I read an English word, I felt powerful. I used to tell my sisters, "English will change my life one day." They laughed. "You and your big dreams." When I finished school, I wanted to go to college in the city. My father said softly, "We don't have money for college, Allicia. Maybe next year." I cried that night but didn't stop dreaming. I promised myself I would find a way. Next morning, I went to a small shop near the bus station where an old man taught children to write English letters. I said, "Sir, can I work here and learn from you?" He looked at me kindly and said, "You can clean the tables and listen while I teach." That's how my journey began. Every day, I cleaned the shop, arranged books, and listened to him teach ABC. When the children left, he let me use an old notebook. "Practice, child," he said. "The world listens to people who speak with courage." I worked all day and studied at night. My friends went to parties. I went to bed with dictionaries. But I was happy because every word brought me closer to my dream. One rainy evening, my mother came to me and said, "Your father is sick. We may need money for medicine." My heart sank. I looked at her tired face and felt the weight of responsibility. I decided to find a job. I went door to door in the city asking, "Do you need a helper? I can clean, I can cook." Many said no. Finally, a cafe owner said yes. It was a small cafe with bright yellow walls and the smell of coffee. I started cleaning tables and washing dishes. Sometimes, when there were fewer customers, I listened to people speaking English. I copied their words quietly to myself. "How are you?" "All right, I'll take a cappuccino, please." One day, a young woman entered the cafe. She was from London. She smiled and said, "You have a sweet smile." "What's your name?" I said shyly, "My name is Allicia." She replied, "That's beautiful. You speak good English." I blushed. It was the first time anyone told me that. Her name was Claire. She worked for a travel company. She said, If you ever want to learn more English, come to our language class. It's free for beginners. That night, I told my mother, "Mama, maybe this is my chance." She smiled and said, "Go, my daughter. But remember your promise. Never forget your roots." I hugged her and whispered, "I will make you proud." For the next few months, I worked in the cafe during the day and attended Claire's class at night. I was tired, but I loved it. Claire often said, "Allicia, you have something special. You don't just learn. You feel the words." Her praise became my strength. One evening after class, she said, "Our company needs an assistant who can speak simple English and help with travelers. Would you like to try?" My heart almost stopped. "Me? Really?" She laughed. "Yes, you. Come tomorrow for the interview." I didn't sleep that night. I practiced answers in front of the mirror. "My name is Allicia. I'm from a small town. I want to learn and grow." I prayed before bed, "God, please help me keep my promise." The next day, I wore my best dress, clean but old. At the office, I saw people in shiny clothes speaking fast English. I was scared. Claire met me and said softly, "Don't worry. Just be yourself." When my turn came, a man asked, "Why do you want this job?" I replied slowly, "Because I promised my mother that one day I will fly. I want to make her proud." The man smiled. "You're hired." I couldn't believe it. I ran home crying, "Mama, I did it. I got the job." She hugged me tightly. My father smiled weakly from his bed. "You are our hope." For the first time, I saw my dreams taking shape. I worked hard, helped travelers, learned from Claire, and improved my English every day. I was even invited to go on a company trip to Singapore. I told my parents, "Soon I will buy you new clothes, a fridge, and maybe one day a small car." They laughed happily. Life was finally shining. But life has its storms. One night, my mother fainted while cooking. The doctor said she had a heart problem. We needed money for surgery. My salary was small, so I borrowed from friends and stopped going to the language class. I worked extra shifts. Claire noticed my tired eyes and said, "You should rest." I smiled weakly. "I can't. My mother needs me." She understood and hugged me. Days turned into months. My mother's condition worsened. I sold my jewelry and saved every coin. One evening, the company offered me a promotion, a higher position, better pay, but there was one condition. I had to move abroad for training. It was my dream and to fly. But if I left, who would care for my mother? That night I sat beside her bed. She held my hand and said, "Go, Allicia. Don't stay for me. I will be fine." Tears filled my eyes. "Mama, I promise to take you with me when I fly. I can't go without you." She smiled softly. Promises sometimes must wait. but dreams should not die. I didn't sleep that night. I watched her breathing slow and weak. I felt torn between duty and desire. Morning came with a silent decision. I called Claire. I can't go abroad, I said. My mother is sick. She sighed. I understand. You are brave. Weeks passed. My mother's health got worse, and the company replaced me. I didn't regret it, but deep inside I felt the pain of a broken promise, not to the company but to myself. My dream of flying faded slowly like the sunset behind my window. When my mother passed away months later, I felt empty. I sat beside her photo and whispered, I couldn't keep my promise, Mama. I'm sorry. Tears rolled down my face. My sisters hugged me. You did everything for her. She was proud of you. But the guilt stayed inside my heart. One evening, I went back to the cafe where everything started. It was quiet. The yellow walls were now faded. The old man who once taught me letters was still there, older but smiling. He looked at me and said, Allicia, you have grown. I smiled sadly. But I didn't fly. He poured tea and said, Maybe you didn't fly in the sky, but you helped your mother rest with peace. That is a higher flight. His words touched me deeply. I realized something. A promise is not always about success. Sometimes it's about love, sacrifice, and doing what's right at that moment. I didn't keep my promise to fly, but I kept my promise to be there for my mother. And maybe that was the promise that truly mattered. I decided to continue teaching English to children in my town. I started small classes near the same cafe. Every time a student learned a new word, I felt proud. I told them, dream big, but also love big. They smiled and repeated, dream big, love big. One day, a little girl said, Teacher, will you ever fly? I smiled gently and replied, Maybe not in the sky, but in my heart. I already do, and that's how I found peace. Not in the airplane, not in the city lights, but in the sound of children learning, in my mother's smile that still lives in my memory, and in the quiet whisper of a promise that found a new meaning. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and comment to support more free English learning videos. Did you enjoy today's story? Write one sentence in English using today's new vocabulary. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories every week.